Well, good afternoon. We are on 4-2, Simplifying Fractions. And what I want you to do is go ahead and hit pause and copy down this information, and then we're going to talk about it further. So go ahead and hit pause and copy it down. All right, so it says simplest form. That is when the greatest common factor, that's what GCF is, greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator is 1. Numerator being our top number, denominator being our bottom number. So this would be an equivalent fraction. 4/8 equals 1/2. The greatest common factor of 1 and 2 is 1. That's why this is in simplest form. The greatest common factor of 4 and 8 is actually 4. So if we divided both of those by 4, we would get 1, because 4 divided by 4 is 1, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2. So equivalent fractions are simply fractions that have the same value, and 4/8 is the same ratio as 1/2, 1/2. For example, if you have a pizza and it is cut in half, we have 1 out of a possible 2 shaded, or you could look at it as, I did that wrong. If we did this and then go in here and shade in 4 of them, you can see that it still equals half. 4 out of a possible 8 slices of pizza will give you the same ratio as 1 whole. If this was 1 slice, if we had 2 possible slices, compared to, so we have 2 slices. Sorry about that. Should have probably made another diagram in doing so to make it a little more clear. So I'll make another circle, and here's my 1/2, and shade in the other half. So it looks like this. So you have 4/8. There are 8 total slices. That's what our denominator tells us. And there are 4 out of the 8 shaded, which, as you can see, it gives you exactly half of that pizza. Okay? If we have 1 slice out of a possible 2 slices, so same pizza but cut in half, okay, to where there are 2 slices, slice 1 and slice 2, my kind of slices, by the way, and then you end up with 1 slice shaded and the other one not. So it's 1/2 of the pizza has been eaten, you can say, or 1/2 of it is remaining, however you want to look at it. But you can see again, they are equal to each other. They represent the same ratio of the pizza. So that's what we're trying to do, and simplifying fractions just makes these a little bit easier to work with, especially when we are trying to add them and subtract them and multiply and divide. Now we're going to replace each space with a number so the fractions are equivalent. So what I want you to do is try to find, and many times this is represented by a variable, which in this case we'll use x. It could be any variable. So go ahead and try to find the value that would give me the same ratio as 5/7. So I'm going to let you go ahead and hit pause and try it, and then we'll go from there. Well, the answer to this is we're going to start with the completed fraction. This is what's complete. And then we're going to go towards the other fraction. And if my number is getting bigger, then we're going to be multiplying. If the number for some reason is getting smaller, we'll be dividing. So 7 became 21 by multiplying by 3. So whatever we do to the bottom, we've got to do to the top, and vice versa. So 5 times 3 is going to give me 15. So in this case, x equals 15. Okay, and that gives me the same ratio. Okay, if we were to divide 15 over 21, 15 21st, by 3, then we would get 5/7. Okay? So sometimes you're making them bigger, sometimes you're making them smaller. It just kind of all depends on the situation. So let's look at the next one. And I'm going to let you go ahead and solve this. And again, this can be represented by the variable x. So find the value of that denominator. So again, we're going to start with our completed fraction, which is this right here. And we're going to go then, since we don't know what the x is, we've got to go to what's complete, the numerator or the denominator. And in this case, the numerator is what's complete. So how did 18 become 6? Well, it's getting smaller. So we're going to have to divide by a number to get 6. Okay, and in this case, 18 divided by what is 6? Well, 18 divided by 3 will equal 6. And so then we can divide this by 3, which is going to then give me 8. Okay? Now some of you might look at this and say, well, 6/8 is not in simplest form either. And that is true. It is not. But again, all they're asking you to do is simply find the value of that missing space. Okay? So in this case, 6/8 would be my answer. Okay? So let's look at the next one and go ahead and find the value of the variable x for this problem. Well, in this situation, we are having to start on the right side because, again, that's what's completed. And then we're going to be going in this direction towards the 7. So how did 35 become 7? Well, again, it's getting smaller, so we're going to have to divide by a number to get 7. Well, 7 times what gives me 35? That's another possible way of looking at it as well, which 35 divided by 5 will equal 7. So we've got to divide the top by 5 as well, and I say top meaning the numerator. So we're going to divide the numerator by 5, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So x equals 4. So 4/7 does indeed equal 20/35. Let's look at the next. And again, if you have questions on any of this, certainly please make note of that, and we'll discuss it further tomorrow. Now the directions are simply to write in simplest form. So when you do that, we are trying to find the largest number using our greatest common factor that we learned about the other day. And that's the best way of doing it. Sometimes that's more difficult. You're easier said than done, so we can take some different routes to get that answer as well. So what I want you to do is, again, try to find the greatest common factor and reduce this to simplest form. Well, when I look at this, my greatest common factor is going to be 6. If I divide this by 6, because 6 is the largest number that will go into both of these equally, then I get 3, and then 24 divided by 6 is 4, to where I get 3/4. However, some of you may have struggled with that, and remember our divisibility rules. If they're both even numbers, we can always divide by 2. And if we do that, we get 9, and then 24 divided by 2 is 12. But we always need to reassess our numbers. And is there a number that will go into 9 and 12? And you look again, are they even numbers? No, they are not. But 3 does divide into both of them. And 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. To where I get the same answer of 3/4. Now you can see some similarities when you look at this. And if you look at what we divided by, the 2 and the 3, when we multiply those together, we get 6, which is the greatest common factor that we received on the first one. Okay? You're just doing it in 2 steps instead of 1 step. Okay? Obviously, the greater the greater factor you can use, the better off you will be. Let's look at the next one. I'm going to let you hit pause and solve this. So we look at this, and again, we're going to divide by, we're going to try 3 You can start low. They're both not even numbers. We can try a 3. 3 goes into 21. It does go into that of 24. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. And 7 is prime. Therefore, if 7 doesn't go into 8 equally, and it does not, then we have found our answer to be in simplest form. So 3 was the only factor we could have used. Let's look at the next. Go ahead and hit pause and solve this. Now for this particular problem, we're trying to find a number that will go into 19 and 24. Well, the irony of it all is that 19 is already a prime number. So if 19 doesn't go into 24 equally, then we already have this answer in simplest form. So you can just simply write simplest form or abbreviate with SF. Okay. And let's try another. So go ahead and solve letter D. For letter D, again, 7 is prime. So we only have the option of using a 7 and dividing it by that. And let's see if it does. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. And 42 divided by 7 is 6. So my answer is 1/6 done. Key is to look at these numbers, and if they are prime, the factors, looking at the factors, possible factors of the smallest number is a lot of times the best way of looking at it as well. So let's go ahead and do letter E. Well, when I look at this, I'm looking at factors of 28, and I know that 4 times 7 is, and if I look at the other number, I'm looking at 7s. That stands out to where that would work. So let's divide both of them by 7, and this will be me 4. And 77 divided by 7 is 11. And then I'm looking at 4. Well, 2 and 4 are good factors of 4. But 11 is prime, so as long if obviously since it's prime, 4 doesn't go into it equally, so we are done. 4/11 would be my answer to letter E. We're going to continue to work with this a lot on a daily basis. Every time we add, subtract, multiply, or divide, they're always going to ask us to put answers in simplest form, so we'll have plenty of practice with this. And again, if you're uncertain, certainly ask questions about this again tomorrow, and we'll make any clarifications that are needed so that you have a great understanding and have mastered this, because this is certainly a skill that we will use repeatedly and is a must know. Have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow.